All right, folks, welcome to another episode of working on Mike Rizzi's Song Themes app.
Howdy.
So where are we at? What have we been up to?
Hmm. Well, I do know that we didn't check in something because we're in the middle of uh, messing around, and I'm trying to remember what it was we were doing.
Well, we had a failing test. I think we left as a breadcrumb.
Right. No, I think it was even. Is it just a feeling test? Let's find out. I
Well,
started running it. So.
there should be a failing test.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We did do a little bit of prepare refactoring when we wanted to write our test, and so that's where we pulled out that index songs by theme.
Right. We were getting ready. Even though we're red, we figured this will help fix it.
Yep.
This prepare.
So what we've been working on, and as you can see in the Jira, is we previously had working where we could add songs and each song had a single theme and we could find songs by that theme. And so what are we doing now?
So now we're, if we have a song that has multiple themes, which is fairly common, for example, a song could be about vampires and Halloween. Or in the example we have in our test, it's a song about Halloween and Christmas. Right. Thank you, Tim Burton.
Yes.
And so we were going to implement adding a song with multiple themes, but we realized, oh, how would we test that if we can't search to see if we got it? So right. We reversed these two JIRAs, 33 and 34, so that now we're going to implement first find a song if one of its themes match. So that's
right.
where we're currently at.
Right.
And we had some Java Stream issues that we were struggling with right before they stopped.
Right. And so this sort of pattern of development of doing the find before we do the add, sort of the query before the modification, seems to be something that I typically do. I don't know if other people do it this way. It's something I need to pay a little bit more attention to when I watch other people do test-driven development. But I find it's one of those, how do I know it worked unless I can ask it for the information and see, it's like if I give this thing information and then I query it, that's like testing two things. Whereas if I just say, it's in there, let me see if I can get it. And now I can say, if I add it, I should see it, feels like the right way to do things. But it's sort of a higher level pattern of how do you slice, basically, how do you slice your stories?
Right.
So,
which is actually this example that we had yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Is a classic example why you don't want to plan too many stories in advance. Right? We thought we would do, story A, then B, and then once we started doing it, it was like, oh, nope, we need to reverse it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as they say, plans are useful, but it doesn't mean you have to follow that plan. So you can, and this is where sort of I always find myself not writing out much of a list of tests to do for exactly that reason. Whereas, Kent Beck reemphasizes in his Canon TDD article, write a list of tests first. But I think you can only do that if you get sort of like, okay, we know we're going to need to find a song, and now we could write the test, but I feel like we could just go write them. We don't have to write the list, and keeping track of the other things, like, well, we know we're going to need to add a song with multiple themes through the object, and that is sort of our list. So anyway, it's interesting how you don't want to plan it. And I think I always look at it as like, you don't want to plan in detail much in the future. You do want to have some idea of where you're going, right? Otherwise, the whole metaphor of navigation doesn't work. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know you get there?
Which is one of the advantages of the old school XP version of, well, I don't know if it was XP, but your story is whatever you can write on an index card
Right,
with a Sharpie.
right,
So you're talking like 5, maybe 7 words, depending
right,
on
right.
how big you write. So that's not much information, but like Ted says, that's your, you know what you're doing
Yep,
next. You've got
yep.
a few of those.
Hey there, the Pig Cat 76. Nice to see you again.
Best login handle.
Yeah. Hey, Tramp Stars. Nice to see you.
Okay.
I was going to say something about aggregates, but I'll save that for later, because Tramp Stars was asking a question on the Discord about aggregates and aggregate roots. So one thing I'll say is there's a term that I've really started that I want to start using that I really like, is this idea of and I don't know, I have to go and find the link to the person who came up with the name decider. So one of the things that aggregates do is make decisions. In general, our objects, or any behavior, is making decisions, but like the aggregate is like this main, the aggregate root, right? Which is right now, I guess it's our song searcher, although there's not a lot of domain objects there yet. But it's the thing that makes decisions. We don't have a lot of decisions in our application, but I've always disliked the reason this came up, because I always disliked the term aggregate root. I find the term aggregate, which refers to the set of objects that we're talking about, or the graph of objects, technically a directed graph of objects. That's the aggregate, right? That's the scope of change. But the object you talk to, right? You don't talk to all those objects. You talk to a single object. Eric Evans calls that the aggregate root. I never liked that name because I found it was confusing, because they both had the word aggregate in there. And so I like using the term decider instead of aggregate root, because that's the thing that decides. So for example, if you have a shopping cart and you add items, and there's a limit to how much you can add dollar amount worth to your shopping cart, it's the decider that decides you can't add this anymore. So that's kind of the terminology I'm starting to use. But we're just not even there at that level of complexity yet. So
does it distract you for me to take the notes like that on
no.
the screen? Because I could do it off screen.
No, it's good.
I just figured it's good for other folks to see,
So make sure you ask this, if you didn't already, in the Discord, Tramp Stars, because I'll answer it there as well. When aggregates reference other aggregates, they cannot reference them by the object, because otherwise you've basically included that other object in your transaction. So again, the example of shopping cart and a customer, if you put it all in one big aggregate, then yes, customer as one of its things would have a shopping cart object. But that means when you load and save the customer from the database, you're also loading and saving the entire shopping cart and all of its products and any other information. That's probably not what you want, because if I want to just change my email address, why are you going to load in the shopping cart? I'm not dealing with a shopping cart. I said nothing about the shopping cart. I just want to edit my email address. And so by putting shopping cart inside the customer aggregate, right, if you reference it as an object, it is now part of that aggregate. So the way you access one aggregate from another is through its identifier. And so if you want to find out, hey, let me see the shopping cart for this customer, you load the customer, you get the ID of the shopping cart, and then you go fetch the shopping cart. So that's an explicit load into memory, and that's loading then the shopping cart aggregate. And now you can play with the shopping cart without having to deal with customer at all. You already know the shopping cart ID. So you can have other entities, right? So the two different kinds of objects that you find in an aggregate are entities and value objects. That's like the fundamental atoms of development. Value objects are immutable, but they can contain logic. So just because it's a value object doesn't mean it can't contain logic. So a good example is a money instance. I want to take two monies and add them together. So there's an add method. Or I have a percentage value object that represents some discount. And so I want to say, given this price, what is the discount? How it stores that internally, maybe it's 1/3 off, maybe it's more complicated than that, but it's an immutable thing, then that is also a value object. So value objects are immutable, don't have an identifier because there's no reason to differentiate 25% off here and 25% off here. It's 25% off. The definition of it is inherent in its value. But you can have multiple entities in an aggregate. One of them still must be the decider, right? The aggregate root. But you can have a bunch of other entities. Generally, though, you don't have more than like a few, however you define a few. And so that brings us to this question, which is, who's the decider? So in most situations, you're going to find that there's going to be one object that is kind of the container. So shopping cart, what does it contain? It contains products. So product in cart might be an entity. And although it's likely going to be a value object, you could certainly say it's an entity. You might have reasons for that. Maybe the quantity is mutable. Maybe there's customization for it, such as embroidering on a hat, something like that. And so you have products in your cart that are entities, but from the outside, you don't generally sort of ask it questions, but mainly you don't ask it to change itself. You go through the container. So you don't just create products out of nowhere. You have to say, can you please add this product? And who do you talk to? You talk to the decider. Who's the decider? It's the cart. So cart is a container, and it has a bunch of these things. It also has things like, well, who's the customer? But that's just an ID. When it gets turned into an order, there might be payment methods and things like that. In general, it's once you've decided sort of what is the scope of your aggregate, it's usually pretty obvious what the root is. Who's the decider? Who's doing the creation? Who's making sure that any constraints are held? Right. So you might have an invoice and line items on an invoice, right? A lot of general business stuff tends to be like that. You tend to have a container object that has a bunch of other things in it that are like things. Not always, but a lot of times when you have something like a customer, well, what does it have? It has shipping addresses, billing addresses, payment methods, contact information, notification settings, but really you're talking about, what do I want to work on? What do I want to load from the database? And that's your decider. That's your aggregate root. Lots more examples we could talk about, but I think hopefully that gives you a sense of how do you know when the entities need to be, which entities need to be aggregate roots. The last thing I'll say is sometimes you'll guess wrong, or sometimes things change, and you might decide these two things I want to be able to change at the same time. And then you split your aggregate. It's a bit painful to do that, but it happens. So you split your aggregate, and this happened in my Ensembler application. It used to be that Ensemble actually held the members. That clearly was not the right thing to do, because members have their own life cycle. But it started out that way, and then I split it into two aggregates, and then that made a lot of things much easier to deal with. So you may guess wrong, but I think doing things like event storming, and maybe some kind of other kinds of modeling will generally get you to the right aggregates, or at least get you most of the way there. And then what you do is you run scenarios through it. It's like, okay, we want to do this. What does that mean? Which objects is it going to touch? And this is a great use for CRC cards. And then you can basically, run through some scenarios and see, oh, actually we keep loading all this data and we never use it for these scenarios. Well, then let's split this thing into two parts. But again, you might guess wrong. But that's why we have refactoring. All right. So we were dealing with basically indexing songs that have multiple themes.
Right. We were going somewhere with the idea of changing the implementation of index songs by theme.
Right. And IntelliJ was not being helpful by writing this as some kind of for loop, which is unfortunate. So there might be a way to use some stream operations to do what we want. I am not smart enough to know what that is. So I'm going to suggest we replace this collect grouping by with dumber code. Get the test to pass. And so in a sense, we're going to do is prepare refactoring by sort of downgrading this lovely collectors grouping by to some kind of loop, and then we'll modify it to support multiple themes. So let's make sure we're able to refactor by having all our tests pass, which may mean disabling the one we currently have failing.
Should I click this one?
So you can tell in the gutter that there's a little red exclamation point. That means the last time the tests were run, it failed.
Yep.
So we want to disable that one. And what I wish it would do is as soon as you type disabled, I wish it removed that red mark, because it's like,
oh,
now
interesting.
it's disabled. But it doesn't know the status of it until you run it again. So let's run our tests again. And then it should show up as properly disabled.
Whoops, that's not what I wanted.
No, that's not what you wanted.
Alt Shift F10. I needed the other F10.
Yes. Okay.
Disable. Oh, there we go.
It does show up, but you have it won't automatically expand it.
Got it.
Is because it treats it in a sense as having passed.
As having passed, right.
Problem or?
Oh no, I wasn't sure if you were.
Oh, I was waiting for you to close the run window. Sorry.
Oh,
I thought you were looking for the shortcut to do that.
I was reading Tramstar's latest, and I was
okay.
thinking that's what you were doing. So. Okay.
So what's interesting is now it shows that test is not having done anything, which is nice. So now we can continue. And Tramstars, I'll address your question in a bit. So let's go into the implementation at 17 and a half. And let's loop through SongStream. So let's do SongStream dot for each. And then let's hit enter to make some space for ourselves. And so each thing, so we'll want a lambda. So let's do song arrow. No, just song arrow. And let's see. So what we're going to want to do for each song right now, let's do, what is it? We'll call it, let's just call it map.put. And I know that map doesn't exist yet, so we'll make that come into existence in a second. And what we want to put is, this is going to be song dot, yeah, song.theme.get first. Comma. Oh, and here's where we have to do that. So this is actually going to be a put. Is it going to be a getter default? Ugh. We got rid of that code when we switched to the much nicer grouping by. So let's cheat a little bit. Let's do list.of song.title.
Oops, nope.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and create the map variable.
Local field.
Yeah, local.
Whoa.
I don't know why you thought that. That's a ridiculous suggestion. What we want is the same as the return type on this method, the map of string to list of song. And let's instantiate that.
Straight map or hash map?
Hash map, because we want an actual implementation.
Right.
Yeah.
Interface.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever needed a logback MDC adapter. I think for me, I actually have a bunch of things in my exclusion list of don't even bother importing it, but I don't know if it affects its guess for declaring variables. But anyway, why is
this unhappy?
Oh, because it shouldn't be title. It should just be song. So just say list of song.
Oh,
because we're indexing songs, not song titles.
Right.
Okay. Let's delete from song stream to the end of that, because we're going to replace it with just return map.
Yeah.
Now, I expect this to break some tests, but let's make sure it breaks only some tests. So the ones that are asking for multiple songs per theme are going to fail.
Six failed.
Out of, and some passed though, right? Can you turn on the passing? Click the check mark.
Check mark. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe a third passed.
So why are the can you look at the implementation we had before in the so go into the gutter and just click on the blue in the gutter. Oh, 2 lowercase. Okay, good. So we forgot the 2 lowercase, so let's add that in, because I expected fewer failing tests than that.
Was
But
it true or lowercase?
you might have seen our parameterized test that we're testing all the cases. Only two of them
Right.
passed.
So that's on
That's on the get.
theme.
Yeah.
So here.
Yep. That's normalizing our theme. All right. Now I expect still some tests to pass, but only those that are about multiple songs per theme. Okay, much better. So search theme for multiples matching song, that fails. Multiple songs are found by their theme, that fails. That one's interesting. So this one says non-empty search results. That's basically the same thing, because I'm not sure we should be as precise in that test, though. Can we just go to that test?
Sure.
Yeah, so here we were just saying that it has non-empty. I think I think this is actually too precise at this level.
Search model with non-empty search results.
Because it's either going to work or not. And the fact that this one failed didn't provide us with any additional information. Any thoughts on this one?
No. Sorry. I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're right. It does seem like it's asking for more information. Because if it's just saying non-empty search results,
then that's probably what we should be asserting.
Yeah, we shouldn't do contains exactly.
Yeah. So let's just say it's not empty.
Interesting.
So trick is you can use if you type in uppercase E. So is and then NE uppercase.
Oh, right. That way.
Then it'll always narrow down your search, which is usually what you want when you're auto-completing.
Yeah. And get rid of all this.
And then get rid of all that. So I'd like to see this test pass, because this is not testing the behavior of the searcher. This is testing the connection from the controller to the service. Right. So now the two tests that fail are basically specifically about multiple songs added for a single theme. We could also question, do we need the one at the song service test level? I kind of think that that's not needed either. Do we have, because we've got added songs are saved and saved songs are loaded.
I think it's because we're doing outside in.
Yeah, I think this is fine, because this is basically testing that added songs are found. So this is fine. I'm okay with this. I wasn't happy with the one at the controller, but I'm okay with this for now. All right. So now we've got failing tests because we haven't fully converted the wonderful grouping by to our lowly for each. So let's fix that. Let's surround the whole map part of the lambda with curly braces so we can write multiple lines of code. No, not there. So from map to the end of the line.
Actually, could I do?
It might have a, so you don't have to select. If you just do an Alt Enter, I bet it will suggest surrounding with braces. expand body. Yep.
There we go. Cool. Even better.
That's much nicer because it also adds the necessary semicolon, which wasn't required before.
Mm.
Let's now do on above that line. Let's do map dot get or default. And basically cut the first part of the put, so basically the song, to lowercase. So let's cut that, put that on the getter default, and then comma new array list. Yep. And then let's assign that to a variable. So we can do a dot var. And this is songs. And now basically get rid of 24 and we'll do a songs.add of the song. Yep. I expect this to now pass all tests.
Ooh. Oh, in the case where it's new, we didn't add it to the map. Okay. After line 24, let's do map put. So pretty much you can copy the getter default. You say copy like to there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then replace getter default with put. And then replace new array list with songs. And now let's run it. Okay, excellent.
There we go.
All right. So now we're back at the behavior we had before, but now we have it in a way that yes, hello, and yes, we want to add these, basically index the same song under all the themes that it has. So now now that we've done our prepare refactoring, we should probably do a commit, and then we can re-enable the test, watch it fail, and then we should be able to relatively easily make it pass.
See, I want to write the method, but I know that's not such a good name. Prepare refactoring for multiple songs added.
Per theme, yeah.
Good? Or turn it into English?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, great. I am too. Done.
Okay. Now let's re-enable the test that was disabled.
There we go. Rerun.
Yes, so this will fail again because we won't find it under Halloween. We're only going to find it under Christmas. Excellent. We could make it pass, which would be really terrible because we'd break all other tests, but let's do it just for fun. So instead of get first, let's on 22 there, let's actually first extract that entire expression to a variable because we use it twice. And let's extract that to a local variable theme or normalized theme and
Both.
replace both.
Both occurrences.
Yeah.
Theme.
Normalized theme.
Oh, darn.
Because it's not really the theme. It's our converted to lowercase for purposes of indexing.
Right. There we go.
All right. And now on 20, let's change that get first to be get, and then with a 1 in parentheses.
That's definitely gonna break shit.
It should break but pretty much every other test. In fact, it might cause a bunch of null pointer exceptions. So I'm not sure it's worth it, but let's see what happens. Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
hey, we got one test passing. So, but that's right. This is if we weren't sure the next step to go, this would be triangulation, because we would say, well, we got our most recently failing test to pass, and we've broken everything else. All right. So what's nice about this, however, is this provides us with what are we going to need to iterate over. So let's extract out just the song.theme.get part into another variable. Yeah. And that is the theme. Yep.
Okay. Wait a second.
And
oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so now let's extract. Actually, we don't need to extract. Now what we can do is instead of directly accessing element 1, we actually want to iterate over lines 21 through 24 for each theme. So we can do this a bit further by extracting out song.theme. And these are the themes. Yep.
Right.
And so now instead of theme.get, you can basically replace that line with a for loop around our themes. So if we do themes.for.
Oh, and then it'll.
Yeah.
And you want 4?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And now just let it go. And now take the rest of those lines, push them into the for loop. No. Delete the theme equals themes.get.
The whole line?
The whole line.
Okay.
And then put the rest of it in the loop.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. And then you said no.
Okay.
So then I was confused.
Sorry. I saw you delete something. I wasn't sure what you deleted.
Yeah, that was deleting that. And then I was going to copy what was
Oh,
there.
okay.
But I probably should have said it out loud.
So now we can inline themes on as part of the loop. Yeah. Because we pulled that out for clarification, but now we don't need it separate. And so I did this piece by piece because there was that one bit that we're basically saying instead of just one of those, we want all of them. Everything else remained the same. And so now if we run it, I expect everything will pass.
Oops.
And it also points to theme is wrong as a name, but we can fix that in a bit. All right. Yes, song.theme actually does return multiple themes. That's one of the changes we're working on. So we'll have to rename that component so that it better indicates that it's potentially multiple. Always at least one, though. So if you click on new array list there. I think there's a way to.
Is that what you meant? Redo all?
Yeah, I thought I was going to do an array list : new, but it doesn't matter. That's fine. Okay, we're done. Let's commit.
Thoughts? Okay.
Well, it's not multiple songs by their theme. It's it's songs by all of their themes,
all right,
or by any of their themes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Chipping it.
All right. Let's rename theme to themes to better indicate that it is a.
This one.
Yeah. No, not that one. I thought you highlighted the other one. The record component. Yeah, that.
That one. Okay.
Yeah. And let's run all our tests just to be sure we haven't broken anything. Excellent. Let's run all of our tests.
I shouldn't have done the mouse thing. Got bit by it. Good so far.
Excellent.
Yep.
And so what's interesting, what I want to point out for those who weren't aware of the other parts of our code. So we've changed our internal structure of a song to have multiple themes. However, in our song controller, we didn't have to change anything here because we translated the songs into song view objects. And if we look at song view, it's just got the title. So if we wanted to show multiple themes, we'd have to modify that here. But it was not a direct. So I've seen a lot of folks when they write code like this, they'll basically take their domain object and directly throw that into their, either return it as part of their API or throw it directly into their MVC model, which means you would have now broken all that stuff. And so what we've done here is we've shown that our adapter, which contains our controller and this song view, is decoupled structurally in terms of what a song is. And so we can change our domain as needed without being forced to change our adapter. We probably will at some point want to change our adapter, but the idea is we're not forced to.
Right. Yeah, the adapter would be changed when there's a requirement or a story or a need for it to have additional information.
Right. And if we were displaying all the themes for a song, we might have to do that. But we can do it a piece at a time. And this goes into the idea of we want to do everything in small steps, where after each step, you are at a safe point, which is why I usually add the word safe when I'm talking about these kinds of steps. So GPaw Hill talks about this idea of many more much smaller steps. And I always tack on the word safe. We want those steps, right? You don't want to be sort of in a precarious position as you're taking each step. You want to be confident that you are in a good place where you could stop if you had to, and then you can be in a good place to then take your next step. So code to load, what I recommend is new in Java and want to learn Spring Boot. Boy, I've got to create an FAQ for this. I really need to do that because I think pretty much every single stream now, I'm getting asked this question, which is a great question, and I'm happy to answer it. But I think I can, for next time, I'll create an FAQ. Actually, I should go into the video where I've answered this, where I think I've done the best answer, and go extract that and create a short. My basic answer is there's two parts. One is come up with a project. So no matter what you want to learn, have a project in mind. And it could be a project. You don't have to invent a new thing. While you might want to do something that would help you personally, that's the ideal, is that it's something that you would actually use. Above all, you want it to be something that you're interested in. If you can't come up with anything, then you can fall back to, well, I'll do a to-do app, and maybe I'll do something interesting with, how things are prioritized, or maybe I'll do something that helps me schedule things, or, but you want to make it something where you're going to be motivated to work on it. And then for Spring Boot has their Spring Academy, Spring.academy, and it also has a bunch of guides. That's how I learned Spring. There certainly are courses out there that you can take, but the most important thing is that you write code. Write code, write code, write code. The only way you will learn is by writing code. You will get informed and be able to get information by watching tutorials, and also watching streams like this where you see coding happen. But unless you actually do it, you won't learn it. And so you want to be able to do it. Ideally, if you can find someone to work with and pair program or work in a group, right? In terms of like the priority and so on, that would be the absolute best. But if you don't, you still want to code on your own. I recommend before moving on to Spring Boot, however, that you are confident in your ability to write tests. Because above all, at least for me, and I think I have a pretty well-informed opinion, you will be much better off by learning how to write good tests. Then pick up Spring Boot and learn how to test Spring Boot. There's some good resources on that. Hit me up in the Discord. You can find out about the Discord. You can go here, go to ted.dev/discord. Lots of folks there who will answer questions and help guide you. And there's lots of good resources there for learning and so on. And there's some good resources specifically on how to test Spring Boot. But you got to know how to write tests first, and then you can learn Spring Boot. There's a question. Thank you, Tramstars. Yes, I wrote it. I took a note to write to start pulling an FAQ together. There's a question that I saw. Oh, I'll answer this one, and then we can dive into some of the stuff that Malatsky's brought up. Malatsky. So we can't do this for loop because the map is not a string to string, or it's not a string to song. It's a string to a list of songs. Right? Each theme, which is the first string, can have 0 or more. Well, really one or more songs. Right? So the same theme, like Christmas, can have multiple songs, and so we can't just have it. It's not a one-to-one mapping. It's a one-to-many. And it's really interesting. I did a bit of research, and it's like, why doesn't the JDK collections have multi-map? And apparently the answer was not enough people wanted it. I agree it's not as popular as a map, but I've definitely used a multi-map much more than I've used like a deck, a double-ended queue. anyway. So it is what it is. But because it's a one-to-many, that's why we can't just do the for loop. Otherwise, that would have been easy. Alas, it's not that easy.
While you're
Yes.
interested, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second.
Okay. Yep. If you are testing something directly against a database, you have to ask yourself, what are you testing? Are you testing your knowledge of interacting with the database? So are you testing your queries, your inserts, or if you're using an ORM, are you testing your understanding of using that ORM? Or are you testing that your ORM is writing to the tables in the way that you expect? Right. So you're actually testing, am I understanding the database correctly? Then you want to use something like test containers. So where you can, under control of your tests, start up a database, do your stuff. When you're done, it shuts down. And that way, each one is independent. Each test of your database stuff is independent from the other one. That's great. Test containers are awesome. They're based on Docker, but they're under the control of the test. And Spring Boot especially has great support for writing tests using test containers. But if you are testing things, so if you are testing things like the criteria API, if you're testing your queries, if you're testing database specific functionality or ORM specific functionality, then you will have to use your ORM or your database, in which case you're going to have to use test containers. But there's lots of tests you're going to write where you need a database, but you're not testing the database. And this is where you do want a test double of some sort. So a stub or a fake. You can also use a spy-like thing called an output tracker, where you're just testing, have I saved the right thing at the right time with the right information? But you're not testing the persistence of that. You're just saying, hey, when I change the customer's email, did it save a customer with that new email? You don't need the real database for that, right? Because you're not testing the persistence. You're testing, when you do this operation, did it do the right thing in terms of modifying your object and asking it to be saved? So that way you've tested your, in a sense, your command, your intention. I want to change the email address on this customer. Did it end up putting and calling to the persistence, hey, I want to save this customer with the correct email? Because you've already got tests that when you say save this customer, it saves it correctly. And so you want to, that's like the fundamental thing I talk about when I talk about testable architecture, is you want to separate those concerns. So you test your database. I know if I save my customer correctly and find it by various ways using fancy criteria API, whatever, that works. And I can be done with that and put it aside. And now I can test the bulk of my domain logic, my domain behavior, without having to worry about persistence. And it can run really fast because it's in memory. And even though test containers are fast, it's much faster, orders of magnitude faster to run it in memory.
I type too loudly.
Yeah, well, it's not you. Let's see. Right, and so the idea is you want to use test containers when you are testing database specific functionality. When you are not, don't use it, and then it will be fast. But if you set up test containers, so there's a lot of ways to configure and set up test containers in a way that is super fast, where the overhead is basically running the first test, and then all the other tests use the test container that's already running. And I found on my 3.5-year-old iMac that it runs in well under a second. So, but even so, a couple, or maybe 1 or 2 seconds, which is too slow for my regular cycle, but it's fine for a wider cycle. Yeah, I mean, any hash map. I mean, if you're worried about concurrent access, I think that's a separate issue. Like, you shouldn't need a concurrent hash map in your tests. unless you've got parallel tests running, which I don't think would save you much if they're all in memory.
Well, then, aren't they our tests? I mean, I'd be worried about tests impacting other tests. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so I'd be I'd be curious why concurrent hash map and why you felt the need to have a concurrently a hash map that it can handle concurrency when you really don't want your tests, like Mike was saying, it's like you want your tests to be isolated from each other and not be able to interfere with each other, which is really what isolation means. Um, so you shouldn't need concurrent hash map unless there's something else going on.
Maybe static functions that change,
Yeah, I don't,
state.
I'm not going to guess.
Yeah, you're not gonna guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically what you've done, and the danger that you have to watch out for is, are you writing a database? So again, if you've got where you're doing some fancy search that requires multiple joins and so on by your ORM, don't write a fake for that. Don't try to emulate. I've seen that happen. I've seen folks who are just starting out. It's like, oh, let me write a fake for this database. Oh, I am going to implement what the database does when it does a find by this containing this and that. It's like, no, that's not the purpose of a test that uses a fake. The purpose of a test that uses a fake is, I'm not concerned with that. If I want to test how the queries work and how complex queries work, I'm going to test directly against the database because that's what the implementation is. But you don't want to start emulating, right? The idea is not to emulate a database, and that's the many people have gone down that road, and it's not a road you need to go down. So one last question, then we'll either take a break or continue. Data structures and algorithms. I answer this by saying, are you interviewing for a job? And have they said you were going to be interviewed by being asked about data structures and algorithms? Then you will want to cram for it. Cram for your interviews. And the reason I use the term cram specifically is that means you are going to study that so that you remember it long enough to get past the interview and that you never have to remember it again, because that will be the fact of life. Once you get past your interview, you will never use that. You will rarely use that information again. And I always use the story of, I crammed when I was interviewing with Google. If you had asked me a week later, all the stuff that I crammed, I would not be able to tell you the difference between this sorting algorithm and this other one, or how to do this other thing, or what the big O notation on this stuff is. And it didn't matter. Once I got into my job, if you think I used any of that stuff, you're sadly mistaken. And I was sadly mistaken. Because you end up working on regular old stuff for the most part, unless your job is going to be to create novel search mechanisms or novel ways of implementing joins in databases. If that is the job you're going for, you probably already know that stuff, because that's generally not stuff that an entry-level or junior developer is gonna get into. For the predominant set of jobs, you may need to know data structures and algorithms for the interview, and then you will almost never use that information in your actual job. That is the sad state of affairs of interviews. My hope is that you don't have such an interview. The reality is you will likely have such an interview. Once you get to senior level, you can start saying, as a response to a question where they ask that, is saying, how is this used in the position I'm interviewing for? Because I couldn't tell you what the big O on a quick sort is. I could go look it up, and I'd understand what it is. But like, how would I use that information in my job? It would be my question. But that's as a senior where I get to say, you don't know how to interview, so let's move on.
And you know how that turns out.
And I've done that. I've been like, that's a ridiculous question. Can we talk about something that's more relevant to the position that I'm interviewing for? Sometimes that's not a great reaction. Sometimes you get a laugh, and it's like, yeah, okay, let's talk about this stuff. I have one other case when I call external API and it's a pooling API. I need to make more calls to get the complete response. How do you test those scenarios? It depends. There's so many ways to attack that I'm not sure I could. I want to take the time here on stream to go through that. Ask on my Discord. All right. Lots of questions coming up. What should we do next, Mike?
I think a break would be good.
Okay. So let's take what break?
I could do 5.
All right, we'll take 5. And when we come back, we'll figure out what we're going to do next. Now that we've got multiple themes indexed per song. So we'll see you in 5. All right. So as a reminder, I have a Discord community where a lot of the questions that come up we talk about. So things like the aggregate root stuff, and things like testing, especially hexagonal architecture, which is what we're using here to help make some of the code more testable. So go ahead, join us. TED.dev/Discord has the information, and you can also there's a separate channel for discussing what we talk about here on stream. So I invite you to join us. All right. Should we go back to the code?
Yeah, sounds good. So we got this working. So is the next step to figure out what we're going to do next?
Well, we got stuff
Or,
working. Are we
oh,
happy
we didn't
with the code?
refactor. Yeah. See, we're all prone to that.
I should put on my refactoring hat.
Yeah. Thought you had it on.
No, I had my change behavior hat.
Oh, change behavior.
It got warm enough that I don't need it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about potential refactoring.
I'm just looking at the code right now to try and see
Yeah.
if there's anything that jumps out at me. I mean, normalized theme. Well, one, the for loop's pretty big. So it could be put into its own function that's named. Extract to a method. Could inline theme or normalized theme. But the fact that it's named is kind of helpful. Normalized theme.
Well, we use it twice, so we can't just. We actually extracted it for that reason.
Yeah, right. Forgot about that. Did you want to go back to removing the for loop and go back to see if IntelliJ can help us?
Well, I was going to say, if you put the caret on 4, does it make any suggestions? So it can collapse loop with for each. That's not much of an improvement. Although interestingly, it would do the string to lowercase for us. What would that look like? Let's do that. Yeah, that's not really much of an improvement. In fact, I think it's actually worse.
Yeah. Hard to grok what's going on.
Yeah. All right, let's restore that. If we put the caret on the for each, does it suggest anything? I doubt it, but I'm always curious. Yeah, that's not really a thing. If we had the AI enabled, I would be really curious what it would suggest, whether it would actually come up with a better, a more stream-oriented solution. Because I'm guessing that there probably is a way to use the grouping by and a flat and some kind of flat map in combination that might get us the same thing. But so this is an interesting thing, because we could say, we could sort of, refactor piece by piece, refactor the for loop out into a method, and then refactor out the sort of the thing that actually puts it in the map into a separate method. But if we do that, we might lose the ability for us to find a different way to refactor it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I wonder if we should just leave it, and maybe I'll ask AI later if it has any suggestions.
Mental. Yeah. It feels ugly, but I don't have.
I mean, we could do one step and just pull the for loop out and just say index song for themes.
Does that one come as a no?
No.
I have to do an extract to there.
Well, just let it figure it out. Just put it on the 4.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
I thought it was one level out.
So it wants you to extract it to a lambda, um, which I'm fine with. Actually, I think that's probably even better. Because we can then just call this index song or index song by theme, by themes. Now, the fact that we're passing the map in is a little bit, but I don't know that we can get around that at this point.
And consumer as the return type.
Yes, because what this thing is it's not something that does anything. It it basically is you're returning something that will be able to consume songs. So it's a song by theme indexer, but that doesn't read as nicely.
So
Hey, Suiji.
let it rip.
Yeah, let it rip.
Suiji. So does that mean this is actually by themes as well? Index songs by
So this one's index songs,
plural.
plural, and then
By
for each
theme
one,
for
we're
each one.
calling, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if yeah, IntelliJ is not going to help us much more than that. All right. And we could probably collapse 19 through 21 into a single line using the join lines.
Which is Control-Shift-J.
Yep.
Which doesn't work when your cursor's in another application. There we go.
One more. There we go. All right.
Rerun the test.
Yeah, let's rerun the test, and then we could do it.
Should we do do all or just IO free?
Oh, let's run them all. It doesn't take that much longer, and we're not
No.
in sort of the middle of a TDD cycle.
Looks good.
Okay.
You were saying check in?
Before you do that, though. Oh no, go ahead and do that. Yep, that's fine. Sorry. So we just refactored, right?
Good enough, or do you want more information?
So I personally don't put nearly as much information as you are. I would just say R, because if I wanted to know how I refactored or what I refactored, it would be obvious from the diffs.
Got it. So refactored.
All right. So what do we want to do next? We now support. Let's close our Jira entries. So we can now find a song. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we tackle add. It's
I guess so. Yeah. Hey there, Escaho. Welcome.
Okay, where to? Back to service desk, working at that level?
So let's see. Is this test at the right level? So what do you think? I'm going to bring up my
I'll bring up your drawing.
my diagram, my drawing here. So currently we are here. We wrote a subcutaneous test that tested against the service. Right, so tested against this thing. But the service isn't doing anything other than pretty much delegating it to our song searcher. Because we have other code that ensures that our song service is actually talking to
The repository.
the song searcher. Why is that yellow? That should be black. And it should be. I'll do that. So we've got tests that test this connection. We've got it, but this test is out here, and so we're basically testing through the song service. But really, what we're testing is the song searcher behavior. So we probably want to migrate this test down to a domain layer test.
Will we just rewrite the test with that new knowledge, or can we refactor towards that?
So we're pretty much going to copy and paste the test, remove the stuff at the other layer, and then that's it. So we'll sort of peel off a layer that is currently present in the test. So if we look at the test, we see that we create song service and we call song service, and we're basically just gonna, for the most part, replace that with the song searcher. Right. So let's copy the whole test, move it to song searcher test.
Now, are we checking that we're hitting both of these in another test?
Yeah, because we have a test where add
right. Yeah.
adds it to the repository. It's found in the repository.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm sorry, you said let's make another test, a clone of this over in search by themes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can check what package is this test in.
Domain.
How do you know?
Oh, I was doing it by yeah.
Oh, okay. You were looking at the path. Yeah. No, I was going to say, just look at what package it's in. Yeah.
Right.
So we're in domain, and so that means this test is at the correct layer. And this is where I wish you could also color test things, which I guess you could, but we generally don't. But anyway, so this test is at the right layer, and so we can now paste the test in here. And Suiji brings up an interesting way to do this. We could basically try inlining it. I don't know about that. We'd have to see. Yeah, so it's sort of doesn't quite. I mean, it has the same flavor of a SAF squeeze, but yeah, I always think of it as sort of peeling off a layer. So what we want is, and in fact, if we had ArcUnit running, it would tell us that this test violates hexagonal architecture because we have code in a domain that is actually accessing the application layer, and that's not allowed. And I know we have.
Should we bump it up?
No, I don't think that's necessary. What we want to do is now, so if we, so I'm curious what would happen. Let's go look at what does the song service constructor do? So let's just bring up a preview of that.
Control-Shift-I.
Yeah, so that creates the searcher and the repository. We don't actually need the repository. So we can pretty much just, instead of creating a new song service, we'll create a new song searcher. No, we want to use one of the create.
Oh.
So we can use that one and then just pass it that new song. So you can pretty much delete from where you were to there. So if you move the cursor over one to the left, no, one to the right there.
Okay.
Hold down your shift key and go down to. No.
When you say down to, what does that mean?
Hold down the shift key and press down arrow twice. And then left arrow until you get to the N. Yep, and then delete.
Okay.
And now we can replace the red song service with song searcher, but we'll have to assign it to a variable. So let's do that. Yep. And it's just going to be by theme. And that's it. We expect this to pass because the work of the stuff we were modifying was actually in the song searcher. So this should pass. So let's run our IO free tests. Excellent.
Sweet.
So we can now delete the test at the other layer because this is now testing closer to the behavior. All right.
Commit?
Yes.
Okay. Moved. Test down a layer.
Yep. All right. And so now when we go look at our Jira, we can say add a song with multiple themes. I think we can now say, well, we don't need to write it against the service layer. This is just more at the domain layer. And so we can write our test at the correct layer.
Right. Happened.
You're scrolled horizontally.
Yeah, I figured out what it was. Yeah, I'm like, what?
It's like, where'd the clothes go?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So new test?
Yeah, new test.
Okay.
So now we're back in. Now we're back in TDD.
Oh, you got your red hat on. Yeah.
So what should this test be?
So here we're going to add multiple songs with multiple themes. Oh, with multiple themes or with single? Let me go back to Jira. Add a song with multiple themes.
I don't think there's anything we need to write.
Because didn't we just do that up above? In
Pretty
66?
Much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like.
Yep. And so that
do you
means,
find that what you said earlier, you were calling it, you implement the find before the add, the query before the command. So do you find that often ends up with, oh, we just implemented the?
Sometimes what it points to is why did we get that for free? We got that for free because we changed what a song was. And if we look at what is the interface that song service provides, it's add song, give me a song. So its structure didn't change. It's already on the screen.
There he is.
So that didn't change, and therefore there's nothing. The song service was not involved in the change, basically. And even Song Searcher was involved because we changed the structure of song and then changed how we index it, and then changed how we had already been able to find by multiple themes, and basically the by theme finder, right, the Song Searcher by theme, assumes that the data was indexed properly. So we just changed how the data was indexed. We didn't touch how songs were found. And so that's why we got that for free.
By theme was, where are you?
I mean, by theme is trivial. It's basically, it assumes the map is correct. And so the hard work was putting the stuff into the map.
Sweet. We got a freebie.
Yes. So so we can do that. Yeah.
Closed here at 34.
Yeah. See now, folks, if you had estimated that, you probably would have given it some point value that would have been way overestimating how much time it would have taken. Of course, we don't have full top to bottom capability because we don't have the ability, we don't have a UI for this yet.
Right.
But hey, there we go. All right, so what do we do next?
Well, we could start moving up to the UI. So I do know that ultimately we're going to want more attributes for a song, but
right,
that's not particularly complicated unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, so I think I think it looks like our three choices is UI, flesh out the attributes for song, and persist in a database.
I like the idea of holding off on persist until we really have everything upstream.
That sounds fair.
We could do UI just to start having a little bit of something, and then add attributes as we need them, or not as we need them, but as we decide we want them.
Right.
Or we could just dive into attributes now without, and then we just have, well, I guess if we did the UI, then we thin slice adding the attributes one at a time, so it would be less of a big bang.
Well, I would probably say unless there's something special about the other attributes, we'd probably just add them all at once.
Yeah, let me take a look.
Yeah, because you'd written them down here. What the other? I think there were only two others.
Oh, that was like an initial this here.
Yeah.
Theme, artist, song title, release title, which would be like the album title or the single title. But there's, what else do we got beside that? Yeah, type. I don't know if type is the right word for this. Compilation or soundtrack. Let me look at my spreadsheet. Do I have format? I don't. LP, CD, 7-inch.
No DVDs?
I don't pull music off of DVDs, but
I know
another one is some people like the term.
I know.
Some people call some things EPs, which is, an extended play.
Right.
But is that, now we're getting into
how much do you care?
Yeah, like this one's physical format
Right.
versus, I don't know what you would call this other one, conceptual. I don't know what the right word is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I care about
I mean,
EPs, frankly.
and would you say LP or would you say vinyl? Right? Because
Right.
what
But
is
then vinyl, it's like which vinyl?
right?
10-inch, 12-inch, or
Yeah.
7-inch?
Well, so
I don't think.
I'll remind ourselves that we're not coming up with the grand schema to end all schemas.
Right.
We are focused on what do you, Mike Rizzi DJ, need?
Right. So I'm looking at my list. You just have persist. You probably lost.
Yes,
Yeah.
we probably, assuming we retrieve from persistence and display it, then yes, we would definitely want to, because security by obscurity at that point would not be
Yeah.
good enough.
No. Hold that thought while I go through
Yeah.
here. Some other. So let's see. Label. I have it in some situations. There might be situations where it matters. In other words, a different version, Verve put out a different version than Clef, right? And so it sounds different.
Right.
I'm looking at my list here. It's scrolling through the spreadsheet. Okay, and then I think then after that we get the pile of themes, and then this is where it gets interesting. Link to we're talking now. Bandcamp, Spotify, etc.
Right.
And then into lyrics, which could be useful since it's about themes, and you're like, oh, well, why does this song that have the title that seems like it's nothing to do with Christmas is about Christmas? And then you look at the lyrics and you're like, oh, that's why. Is that valuable? I don't actually keep either of these links in my current stuff, but I can see it as a future value add. Again, we should add it when we
Yeah,
want
so
to expose it.
I want to restrict your thinking because
Oh yeah.
you've veered off into future, and I want to
Yes,
keep us
totally.
focused on what do
Yep.
we want right now? What is the minimum, as somebody said the other day, what is the minimum lovable product for you?
Right. The reason
Do
I
you
went here was you had
yeah,
asked the question, are there any unusual things that could make life difficult? And so that's why I went through them. I forget how you phrased it, but something along the lines of um, the fact that we could have a song is actually themes plural, right? That
right,
caught you by surprise, right? When we first started working. So I
right.
wanted to kind of go through these, not to say let's implement them all now. Definitely not.
Oh, then
But
you
is there
misunderstood what
anything?
you misunderstood what I was asking. I was asking for the
Ah,
stuff we know for the minimum lovable product, right? That's our focus right now.
got
Is
it.
there anything different about those attributes that would force us to store it in a different way or handle it in a way that's basically something other than a string? So
Right.
for the top four, so we got themes, we got song title. For artist, uh, and maybe release title. I don't know if you even want that in your minimum lovable product. But for those, are those just strings?
Yes.
Okay. In which case, I would say, let's add those, uh, and then we'll add them to the UI.
Got it. Okay. Give me a second to just look at the other ones to see if there's anything that's vital. I don't think so. Well, no, actually, I think I do need this one. So the reason is if the title is, songs of Southeast Asia, I can figure out it's probably a compilation by inference.
Okay.
But if the album title, release title is not, and that's the only place to find that song, which is somewhat common for certain themes. you know. So knowing whether it's a compilation is important.
Okay.
And then the other one I think is also not minimum, but DJs will appreciate it when we get to it. And that's going to be an interesting one. I just forgot about is lack of a better word, radio friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to be a Boolean.
I was gonna say, please make that not a Boolean.
No, it's gonna. Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, that one's a huge can of worms. But yeah, right now we'll just stuff that in notes.
So I was just looking at the schema org to see if they have any what they're using for things that are like your what you've question marked release type. They have production type. So soundtrack, live album, studio album is what they put under.
Where'd you find that? Did you just
go to schema.org/music album, and I'll paste that here for everybody to see.
I'm guessing there was a.
Here, I'll just share it.
I just shared it.
Oh, okay.
Or you can. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Are you looking at mine or yours? Yours.
So they have this as music album production type. So it's either compilation, DJ mix, demo, live, mixtape, remix, soundtrack, spoken word, studio.
Interesting. Oh, you had it by driving in.
Yeah. So the schema.
If I search for compilation, it's not there.
Yeah. So this is the schema for a music album, which has these properties. So by artist, release and release type, and production type. But it pulls in information from other parts of the schema, like creative work, which is all this other whole bunch of other stuff, like copyrights and material and publisher and stuff. But we're really mainly I was interested in looking at it as sort of how can it help inform our stuff? Because whenever I'm struggling with like what the heck do I call this thing, folks whose job it was is to create ontologies like this probably have thought about it a bit more, so that might be useful.
Yeah, that's a very odd term, album production type.
Yeah, so there's.
Oh, sorry.
So basically, you can look at like where this come from. It came from this music ontology schema.
How did you get there? Did you scroll back?
So it was basically under acknowledgements.
No, but how did you get to the screen you're currently showing?
Oh, where I am right now?
Yeah.
I clicked through music album production type, which is the type.
Ah, okay. I was clicking on album production type to its left.
Oh.
Interesting. On my screen, it's not red. So
That's
it doesn't
the name
look
of
like it's clickable.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the property that you would find in the schema, and this is its type. So all properties have name and types.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some deep diving in that offline.
Anyway, back to your screen. So I don't know if that helped with release type as production type, but
not a fan of it, but that's just because it's new.
Right.
I think I want to kind of stick with the release type for now, and then make a note.
That's fine. I was going to say let's not bike shed it.
Sounds good.
So are these our 5 song attributes?
Yeah, I would say these will be these 5.
All right, then let's work on adding those.
Okay. So again, we'd be at the not service. Well, actually, would we go outside in and work at the service layer, and
Um,
or start at the domain layer and
it
then
it's all dependent on song. So this doesn't, at least right
yeah,
now, this doesn't force us to change anything outside of song. So I
right,
think we have to do who's creating songs, because we're probably doing that in a bunch of places. We already have some alternative constructors, um, and we might want to go. Um, we could probably do one more backwards compatible constructor.
hmm,
So basically,
right. And we were going to reverse title and themes. Sweegie
oh
suggested
yeah,
that
let's
yesterday.
how about we do that? Run our tests, commit, and then I think we can get rid of the other constructor by inlining. Sorry, by pushing out. But let's do one thing at a time. Let's change the order of title and themes, because I
Is there
agree
a way
that
that we can do the
you can do
date
change
signature?
signature. Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
And
let's rerun tests just to
yep.
be safe.
Stuk says you chose
Oh,
Java Spring Boot as your career path. Well, good luck to you. I think it's a solid choice. Um, Definitely, Spring, if nothing, is becoming more popular, and so well done. Full says, what's the recommended number of constructor arguments? Fewer. Less. My rule of thumb for this is the same as it is for lots of things, which is several. In other words, 3 or 4, maybe 5. Beyond that, you really need to start creating objects that represent a lot those pieces. It's very likely there. So I often see two different kinds of long constructors. One is you simply have lots of little pieces of data, in which case you want to start grouping those together. We're probably going to, when we do this next step of adding properties to song, we're probably going to push that limit, and we're going to start wanting to think of, is there just release as a value object that has title and type? Do those go together? And some other combinations of attributes. So you sort of have this tree of attributes. So at the top, you've got 3 or 4, and then each one of those is made up of smaller bits that go together. You don't want to just randomly group stuff together.
right.
So that's one type of place where I see long constructors. The other type is generally service like classes, where you have a lot of dependencies because that service is going to need to access these 3 repositories and these 2 other things and these 4 other things, in which case your service class is too big, and just split the service class up. And then easy peasy. And generally you'll find sort of a seam where it's like, okay, these methods use these dependencies and these dependencies use these dependencies, and then you just split the class apart. Just it generally will be, you'll if you can find the seam, then it will be a relatively straightforward refactoring. If there's lots of mixture, then you have to really rethink, does all of these things really require all of these dependencies? In which case the dependencies themselves might be too granular. And so that's another problem, is like, you've got 8 different interfaces, and they all are, because everybody's thinking about the interface segregation principle and small interfaces. That doesn't mean that they're all one methods. It just means you also have to consider cohesion. And so if you're always using dependencies A, B, and C, and A, B, and C, and A, B, and C, well, again, maybe that should be one interface. All right.
So since we are going to start hitting that limit, will there be a point where we're like, the record's going to always provide value, even if it's 4 or 5.
Yeah, I would say let's add what we need right now. We can refactor. I don't have a problem with 5 per se. At some point, we'll start seeing how those will get broken down.
Yeah, and it does make sense that these two will go together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, what do you think we should do next?
Oh. So I think, and I don't know if we can do this, if this will work with the record, but we can try it. So let's try, let's do a commit because we reversed themes and title, and then we'll do the next step.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if we take list.ofTheme on there on line 7.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do an introduce parameter on that? No.
Well,
that, yeah, I want to introduce parameter. Yes. Awesome. Let's call that themes. I don't know, not theme 1, but themes.
Themes plural.
Yeah, but not themes. Not themes 1.
Yeah.
Just themes. And then hit enter. Now, totally fine. We've got duplicate constructors. We can now delete this constructor.
One
more. You have an extra closing brace.
Oh, yes.
Let's run our tests.
Want to do all or just IO free?
If it compiles, we're good.
Yeah.
That was really all I cared about. All right. Yeah, because what we did was basically say, hey, everybody, stop calling the constructor that takes a single theme. Just do list.of, and then became a duplicate, and then we got rid of it. Yeah. It'd be nice if IntelliJ was aware of that. It's like, oh, we've just created a constructor that looks exactly like the one that's already there. Do you want me to delete it? But no, that requires a little more smarts on our part.
So that pushed list.of out to the callers.
Yeah, so now if we look at all the references to this record, we will see a bunch that have list.of in it. Most likely in the tests, not elsewhere. Yeah.
Yep, tons of them.
Yep. So
if we did the same thing with chain signature and start adding, it will put a default blank string.
Well, so so I think that becomes a test only issue. And so I think we now need to basically encapsulate our setups. So eventually this might lead to a song test builder or a test song builder or a song test data builder. Anyway, it might eventually get into some kind of builder pattern where we care about some attributes and don't care about others. But I think we can start with just some simple factory methods. Hello, James. I just want to address this question very quickly. So Raja asks, what's my opinion on clean architecture? I prefer hexagonal architecture, but the ideas of clean, hexagonal, or ports and adapters, if you want to call it that, or onion, they're all about separation of concerns around IO and domain. If you don't have a strong non-trivial domain, don't bother with any of these. They're overkill. So make sure it matches the kind of application you're developing. But if it does match, if you have a complex, a non-trivial domain, and by domain I mean lots of business process rules and such, then any of those architectures are fine. I happen to prefer hexagonal because I like the way it splits the external adapters, but I'm fine with all of them. And I talk very specifically about the differences between the different kinds of testable architectures in my course, which at some point I will reopen for sale. All right, so let's go to our tests and start encapsulating the places where we're creating songs, so that we can make it easier, so that we don't have to change a whole bunch of places where we're creating songs and where we don't care about these other attributes.
You want to start with themes controller test or service test?
I think we should start with the service test. I don't know why. I have no reason.
Flip of a coin is valid sometimes.
Well, other than it's the one that I think that had the most.
Yeah.
So I knew this was going to come up.
Yeah.
So no, most CRUD apps actually have quite a bit of domain behavior. They're just scattered all over the place. But if there is no behavior, right? If you are literally or almost literally just editing stuff that ends up in a database table, which is a completely valid way of creating applications. So if you just want an application that, for example, made it easy for 100 of your closest friends to give you their top 10 list of songs for the year, and you wanted to create a special application, yeah, I might do it as a pure CRUD app. It's almost directly putting stuff in a database table. And I might do some minimal validation, like make sure stuff isn't empty. But other than that, there were no rules. Then you would not use an architecture like clean or hexagonal. If, however, you start having restrictions like you can't have more than 10 songs in your list, and your songs must have been released in 2023, and they can't have, and they must all be radio friendly, and right, and all those are now starting to be domain rules and domain logic where you're going to have to interact with external services to get information, and then scan lyrics. And if you start doing that, now you've got a complex non-trivial domain, and then you're going to want to separate your domain from persistence and from external services. So for me, it's all about testing. If there's not much logic, there's not much testing. There's no point in testing code that does, for example, an assignment. It either works or it doesn't. You either mistyped, in which case it wouldn't compile, or it doesn't work. But the minute you've got an if statement, you want to test that. And if you have a lot of them, you probably want to consolidate them into objects and test those. I sure hope it does make sense. So thanks. Yeah. Makes sense to me. So let's do some refactoring. Are you waiting for me? Because I was going to let you do this.
Oh, so
I mean, I can tell you what to do, but I think
yeah. So what we're talking about is having creating within song some factory methods. Is that what we're or were you thinking set up at a higher level?
Yeah. So the way I think about this is, and I'm gonna draw this. So the way I think about situations like this, where I've got objects I want to create from tests, where there's commonalities. So the first thing I start out with at the bottom is factory method inside of the test class. For example, inside of,
right, of course it wouldn't be in song. That was silly.
That's fine. There are cases
yeah.
where we do want to put stuff into the class, but in this
Yeah.
case, so it might be inside a song searcher test, and there's going to be a method called create song. And what do we care about? Sometimes we only care about the title, and then sometimes we care about a single theme. And then sometimes we care about multiple themes. And for convenience from the test point of view, we might want to make that var args. Even though the record itself takes a list, we're writing these for convenience for our tests.
Right.
Now, if you project this out, you start getting, well, sometimes I care about the song with, not snog. Sometimes I care about it. I don't care what the title is, but I do care about the artist, and I do care that it has one theme. But sometimes I actually care about
I need to be the builders.
the title and the artist and a single theme. And so you can see this you keep going this way, and you end up with dozens and dozens of methods and each time you add an attribute, you end up with more methods. And so exactly the solution to this is don't do this. The solution is once you pretty much, in my mind, kind of hit this point and once you go beyond this, maybe this, you're probably going to want to go to a test data builder. But before that, so this is factory method inside the test class. The next level up is move those factory methods to a separate class. That's for sharing across multiple tests.
Right.
So that's sort of the next small level up. But then pretty much beyond that, you're pretty much going to want a test data builder. And so this is my hierarchy for how I think about refactoring tests. I start out here, make it available to multiple things, but now we need lots of configuration. And the important thing here is with lots of with attributes I don't care about.
Right.
Right. So in other words, good, basically good where you can have good defaults. If you're not going to specify it, so I mean that's generally true down here, but here it's where you're really mixing and matching a lot of different things. And yes, absolutely, as Luigi correctly observes, once you exceed several. And this number of like 3 to 5, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It actually comes out of how our brains are structured, what's called the cognitive architecture. And this comes from cognitive load theory, which is we can generally juggle in our heads 3 to 5 things. Those things might be very complex things, what are technically called chunks, and experts can handle more complex chunks than novices, but you can only juggle 3 to 5 of them. Anything more than that, and you start making mistakes. All right, so we want to get to here first, basically.
Right.
Create some factory methods, and then we'll probably extract it and move it to a separate class for use by the other test classes. So back to you.
Okay. So here we're adding 2 new songs to the service. Here we're adding 1.
So I wouldn't bother searching. I would just start refactoring.
Okay.
Because the IntelliJ will do the searching for us.
Got it. So the question I have is, at this level?
Yes.
Or at the So it's the song creation part we're worried about.
Right.
We're not worried, but attacking,
That we are concerned with. It is a
concerned with.
concern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So if we extract that to a method, I'm not digging it.
I would say create song. Even though it's obvious the return value from the call site, it's not obvious what it if you just left off song. So
Right.
I generally do create song, and then that's it.
Whoa.
Now, here's where IntelliJ
Ah,
is going to offer, you know, if you parameterize this, I'll be able to replace a bunch more duplicates. The reason why I generally don't let it do it is because the suggestions it uses for the variable names are terrible. Terrible. Like, and actually, this is worse than I've seen it. I don't know what the heck it thinks it's doing with those variable names. It
yeah.
could be there's some configuration in your IntelliJ that's different from mine, but I've never seen it offer this will be our year
Underscores.
with underscores and uppercase. This
Yeah. Mixed
are.
case.
So we will keep the original signature and do it manually. And we will replace all the occurrences where we don't have the need for, because we have literal duplicates. So go ahead and replace all. Now let's go parameterize our create song and push out the title and then the
I
theme.
actually don't need to select it, do I? I just need to be.
Yeah, just need to be in the string. Yep.
Let's try to do it again.
Well, that's what it's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
select.
Right. Right. Right.
This is what I would have expected it to do. I don't know why it was suggesting that other monstrosity, but we can be smarter about that, and we can just say title. And now it finds duplicates where it can say, oh, now that the title's parameterized, I can replace those. We want to do all. And now we can push out the single theme.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Could this be directly
Yep.
parameterized?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, yep.
Again, all.
And so now, basically, as we introduce parameters, the method becomes more general, and it can go and replace more of the callers, which is why I stopped you from searching, because IntelliJ is doing the work for us.
Right. 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 No, appreciate it. Okay. Fired all.
All right, and now we probably have a place where so now we can look for in this file, are we ever calling new song?
Oh.
Besides there, are we ever calling new song? I would just actually do a search.
Yeah, like this, right?
Yeah, with an open paren.
Oh. Nope.
Turn off your regular expression, which is that dot
Yeah.
star.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got that one place, and that's it.
And that's it. Sweet.
So we've captured them all, as they say in Pokemon. Get them all. So that's it. So we can basically take that static method. We could move it to the bottom, although it's probably going to move elsewhere soon anyway. But let's go ahead and move it to the bottom. Yeah, I don't think it's the AI assistance. I think it just, I mean, maybe it is, but it's not using the AI assistant because we're not paying for it. So yeah, I think it's just a weird choice.
Old-fashioned whoopsie. Thank you.
And it's odd because you'd think that if nothing else, the heuristic for what it suggests, I don't know if you noticed when we first extracted it, down in the list near the bottom was title. And so if it's going to suggest basically what's a generalizing of the method, why would it not suggest the general name, which is the name used inside of song?
Right.
Why would it use the most specific thing instead of the most general? To me, the heuristic is obvious, but they're using not the right heuristic. All right, let's run our tests. I expect it to still work as long as it compiles.
Yep.
All right.
Do you want to tackle the ones on the other test class?
Yeah, I just realized that we could have saved ourselves a little bit of time if we had moved.
Outside of the class.
If we'd moved this outside the class,
It would have searched the other ones.
actually, I don't think there's a way. We might be able to force it with the process duplicates. Let's try that. So let's go. Let's commit, and then we'll try that out.
No.
Well, I'm wondering why we have so many changes. Did we not do a commit before for something? Can you look at the difference for the song themes controller test? Oh, when we swapped the order, we didn't commit.
We didn't commit for that.
Yeah. All right. So let's make sure we note that.
Song structure.
And I'd be more clear that Song Factory method for tests.
Good point.
No commit. Tiny tangent. I personally have a setting in IntelliJ where when it shows a diff, it opens up a full window instead of trying to stick it in an editor pane.
Yeah, that's fine. Annoying.
Because I find that to be, again, sort of the worst possible default. Like you're going to stuff it in what's potentially a small window instead of just popping it up. So that's, I don't think it's here. I think it's actually in settings.
Okay.
And let's just look for diff. It might be under diff and merge. They're under tools. No, might be under advanced settings. Yeah, uncheck that.
Like do something
it's so funny. It's like I understand IntelliJ, you don't want to change defaults on folks, so you end up with a default that's what it used to be, and then you introduce the new feature and you don't change the default. I don't understand that part. Like you clearly introduced this option and it's still what I think is the wrong default. But what do I know? I'm not JetBrains. Hopefully they collect data and see how many people uncheck that.
Thank you. I will be less annoyed by those diffs for sure.
Yes. All right. Yeah, because I don't use them often, but when I do, I want to see the whole freaking thing.
Right.
I want to see it to be the big screen. All right. So yeah, so let's now I'd like to see, yeah, let's go to the song themes controller test, but I'd like to see if we do refactor, or is it code? I forget which menu it's under. It might be under the code menu. Where'd they hide it? Maybe it's under refactor.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for process code duplicates.
Oh, where did I?
Yeah, there it is. Find and replace code duplicates in the second block.
Ah, there we go.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Oh, okay. Is that enough? Will it know to go check?
Well, it's right now, it's specified to just look at the current file, which is song themes
Okay.
controller test, and that's what we want. Let's try that one more, but let's expand the scope.
In which way?
I mean, go to the pick the find duplicates again.
Oh. Oh, that.
So that scope. So click a whole project.
Okay.
That's a bummer.
What?
Because it's clear where your cursor is a duplicate. I wonder if we go to song, maybe it's because it's not available from here. It's not public. Can we go back to song?
Oh, right.
Was
Was
that
it this
not?
one? Service test?
Is that where it was?
Yes.
Oh, it's private. That's why. So let's make that public.
Okay.
And in fact, let's go ahead and move it to a separate class instead, where it's going to end up there anyway. So what I generally do here, because I don't want to type the entire package name, is I type the name of something that's already in the right package. So like song service test. Yep. And then I change that to be song factory.
Get rid of the word test.
And get rid of the word test, yeah. And then, yes, the rest. Wait, actually,
wait a second.
That's fine. It's already, yep, that's good. Yep, it'll code the
Okay.
class. And that's in the right place, yeah.
And for once.
Well, because it's in test. It's always right when it's in test. It's the other one that's the problem. It's like, no. Yep, go ahead. So let's try the duplicate code finder again.
And it's controller, right? Yeah.
Refactor. Yep.
Whole project still?
Sure, why not? Really? That's a real bummer. What the heck's the point of that thing anyway?
Include test sources. Yeah, there's nothing extra we could select. Yeah.
That's a bummer. All right. So
We have to manually sling them.
Well, so what we could do is we could do the same refactoring we did before. And then the final step will basically be move it and then delete it. I don't know if there's a better way. We're trying to find just duplicates. I was hoping that it would realize that where we are now with the new song list of theme, that code is a duplicate of the code that's in the static method that we pulled out to the factory.
Oh, but wait a second. So far we've got the factories for a single theme. Was this one? No, these are single themes too.
Well, so it may not realize it's a duplicate because of the list.
Right.
So let's do this. Let's pull this out. So let's do an extract method on the new song creation.
Okay. Extract to what?
Method.
Method.
Yeah. And we'll just call it create song. That's interesting. Oh, because theme is a variable. That's why. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, I see what it did. Okay. Keep original.
Yeah, keep original. What the heck is it doing? And then let's go to the create song method that we just created. and push out that as a parameter.
Yeah, title, right? Yeah.
Yes. And now all.
What's that yellow?
Oh, that's been there. That's
Oh.
this is a cast check that we don't care about. So let's go back to the create song method. Was it title theme in our song factory?
And the other one? Let's
Yeah.
see. Title then theme, yeah.
Okay. Let's swap it in here. And
So we need something to drive.
well, I'm wondering if we can do the process, if we can try the process duplicates again.
Ah, for this.
Yeah.
Interesting. The name of the
Yeah, they must have changed that because it used to be called process duplicates. Let's do whole project. Yeah, now
we made public.
interesting is that it's going the wrong way.
Because
it
could start it from the other one. Would that do it?
Actually, we would start from here. So let's go start from here.
So hit cancel.
Yeah, cancel.
That's what I meant. Start from.
Yeah. So let's start from here and process duplicates. And I'm just going to keep calling it process duplicates because that's what it says. Yeah. So now, I guess I was confused by what direction it was looking to process duplicates for. But now I guess I know better. So Sweetie was right. Yeah. So yeah. So let's go ahead and yeah. Let's replace one by one. Yeah. Let's see what this one is.
Okay.
So replace that one. Yeah, that one too. And sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Let's do that one and we'll just inline it.
Well, it's now jumping to.
Now it's jumping to
song searcher.
Which is because we said whole project instead of
right.
Restricting it. So let's skip this one. And we'll skip that one. And that one.
Good thing we didn't say all.
Yeah. So now let's go inline that method where the cursor is. Yes. All right, so let's go and look at the callers here. So that looks good there. What other changes are there?
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So you can always tell by the gutter being blue, tells you where the where the changes are. So that looks good. Yeah.
Only 2 places in this file.
And so if we go to the song search by theme test, we should have replaced those as well.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And that's it.
All right. Let's run all our tests and then we can commit.
Totally.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that it would suggest making a change that could not compile or should not compile or
mean having production code use test
Well,
code?
yeah, well,
Because
I
that's
guess
what
it
it
would,
ended up
I
being,
guess
right?
would a compile, but it would be really bad. Yes.
Yeah. You do not want.
You do not want that.
Okay, all good.
All right. Let's do commit. Let's try out our diff just to make sure
Oh yeah.
the window pops up
Any
the way we
particular
want.
file? Do you care?
Let's pick that one. Yeah.
There we go. And there's also a right click show diff in new window.
Yeah, but that shows it in a new window.
Oh,
Is this a new
not.
window? Oh, maybe on Windows, no pun intended. Maybe it does that. On the Mac, it does something
Let me
different.
see what this one does. So they're
I guess
synonymous.
that would have overridden our previous setting if you wanted to do that on occasion. There's a shortcut key, right? Control D. You could just hit Control D.
Yeah, Control D.
Yep. Coolio. All right.
Sweet. Okay, commit message. I guess finished consolidating the factory methods. We didn't just finish. Did we do both in this one commit? We did.
You could look at the song service test to see what we did there. Not that
that's
one.
the wrong one. Yes, we created the factory for both.
Yeah, so now we've created factory class, or refactored all tests use new factory class.
Okay.
Do we call the constructor? I'm sure we have a place where we call the constructor with multiple themes, right?
You would think. Is there a way to search it other than doing this?
If you see the gear where it's on the upper right where it says usages, usages would help, but it won't tell us new. I forget what the way to do that is. Cancel out of that.
Okay.
Let's do search again.
I'm clearly getting tired.
Control B.
Control B. Yeah. Okay.
So find usages. So you actually committed that selection.
Oh, interesting. I hit escape. No, it's still. What changed?
Oh, I don't know what changed.
Because I did not.
So Control B does what now?
Now it's showing 7. What?
Well, something changed.
Yeah, but what changed? That's what's interesting, because these are the same project files. Could it be we were looking at song from somewhere else? Well, does it give us what we want?
Which is where do we instantiate a new song, and it's the first 2 that we are concerned about.
Okay, just go to one of them.
Yep. Oh, that's the startup. Sorry, I thought that was a test. My bad. So let's go back here. Control B. I feel like we're not seeing everything.
Yeah, because didn't we test multiple themes?
Yeah, let's do a literal search for across files for so we went on a cross file search.
I forgot the shortcut for that one. Is it
It's find in files, Control
Find the
Shift
files.
F.
Yeah, Control Shift F.
So let's do new song, new space song, open paren.
This whole word.
That doesn't matter. What we're looking
Okay.
for is that last test, the last entry. That one.
Right. Okay. It's the only
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay.
Right. So that's where it's calling the constructor with an actual list of themes. So
This is the
let's
only one we haven't encapsulated the setup on.
right, and so let's encapsulate that setup.
Want to call it create song, or do we want to
Yeah, great song. It'll just be overloaded.
local? It's local. Yep. And then we want to do the list first, or the
We
song
want
title
title themes. So let's extract title first, and then we'll extract the themes.
Okay. Yeah, you got the title right that time.
Well, in that dialogue, it gets it right. In the suggestions for introduce parameter, it gets it wrong. Yep.
So now would we push it? Will we make it public and then push it to? Well, if we push it, it'll escalate it to public, right?
If we tell, yeah, yes, it will. So let's just move it.
And that is called Song Factory.
All right.
Make that a little bit easier to
yeah.
read.
That's totally cool. Let's run all our tests.
Yep. Oh, all. Oh, it is all.
That's what you had selected. So
Yeah.
all right. Let's go look at Song Factory. Let's have line 11 basically call the one on line 15. No.
Nope.
I want 11 to call line.
Oh, 4. Sorry.
No, we're in the same class.
Oh.
You don't need dot anything.
Yeah. Got it.
That's it.
Oh, so for static, you don't have to do it.
If you're in the same class,
in the same class, yeah,
because you're in the same class, there's no ambiguity.
Right.
The reason why is this means now there's only one constructor call to new song in our entire test set of test classes.
Right. So it's fully encapsulated.
So we've fully encapsulated the setup. So now whenever we expand the song record, there's only going to be one place to change it in our tests. And we can prove that by looking for new song in our tests. But I'm pretty sure we captured them all.
What? I guess that is, but why is only? Yeah, that's right. Commit.
Let's commit.
Actually, let's read.
Let's just run the IO free tests.
Too late. I'll get back to that.
Okay.
It already kicked off. Okay. Commit.
Yes.
For song.
Yep. So I think let's write down the specific next step, and sounds like we probably want to stop here.
Yeah, I'm starting to get toast. Would that be? I guess it would be its sort of its own new category,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. We'll figure out what the category. Oh, I guess you could say
Add more song attributes.
yeah. I can put in this. So we've already got. So we want to add artist,
Mm-hmm.
release title, release type.
All right.
For next time.
For next time.
Oh, sorry.
Did you want to delete 39 and 40 there, since we don't need that anymore?
Oh, because we were just there's a lot of stuff in here that I gotta
Yeah.
go clean up. But yeah.
All right, so we've done a lot of preparation work, but one of the nice things about all that prep work, I always think about like making a fancy dinner. It's like once you've cut and sliced and done all the spicing of everything, it's like then it's easy. You just throw it in the oven, you wait.
Yeah.
And so now that we've done the harder work of encapsulating our setups, now that when we add our attributes, the only thing we'll have to change is that one method. And then we can start worrying about places where we actually want to specify other of those attributes. And we will create additional factory methods. And maybe or maybe not next time, but probably at some future date, we will probably want a test data builder for song.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll create it when we need it. Agni.
And probably do UI after these
I think,
attributes.
yeah, and so I think I think creating the UI will be the next step for that. Yeah.
Cool.
Alrighty.
How long did you go? Went for 2.5 hours. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all, folks. Thanks a lot again for hanging out and asking great questions. And again, as always, you can find out more about me at ted.dev/about. And I invite you to join our Discord and participate if you haven't already done so. If you have questions about the stuff we did on stream, Discord's the place to do it. There's a dedicated channel for that. If you have questions about some of the topics that came up, such as like architecture, or domain-driven design or testing, there's channels specific for those topics as well. So that's all. And of course, the Discord is where the best place to find out when we will be scheduling future streams. Always announce it there. And it's the best way to find out, basically, instead of being notified when we actually go live. So you get a bit of advance notice if you join the Discord. And make sure, if you want to know that and want to get notified, there is a special roles channel that you can click on an icon, and you'll be notified with a special notification when I announce the next stream. So that's it. Any last words, Mike?
No, I'm good. Thanks. That was fun.
All right. So we'll see you next time. Otherwise, have a great rest of whatever day's left for you.
Take care, everyone.